Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to another edition of History and Truth. Today, we have returned to Cafe Ogimon, and
Hello, my name is Suzuko. This is my cafe.
okay. Today, we are discussing the roots of the Princess Louise Fusiliers. The Princess Louise Fusiliers is a primary reserve light infantry regiment of the Canadian Armed Forces, formed as the 66th Halifax Battalion of Infantry, and then named the 66th Battalion Princess Louise Fusiliers after Princess Louise in 1879. It took its present name in May 1920. The 6th Machine Gun Battalion, CMGC, amalgamated with the regiment in 1936. Let's look more into the card. The Princess Louise Fusiliers was active from 1867 to present, and its garrison is the Halifax Armory. Its motto is Fidelito, for faithfully. Its colors are green, gold, and maroon, and its march is the British Grenadiers. Okay, engagements. It was in the Northwest Rebellion, the Second Boer War, the First World War, the Second World War, and the war in Afghanistan. Its current commander is Lieutenant Colonel Rhonda Matthews. The colonel of the regiment is Colonel Douglas Ruck, who's the honorary colonel, and its hackle is gray. Early history. Based in Halifax, Nova Scotia, the infantry regiment traces its local roots as a Halifax unit of militia back to June 18, 1749, when Sir Edward Cornwallis formed a local militia under his own command during Father Leloutre's War. 10 companies were formed at the Grand Parade in the city and were made a collective battalion. Here is, once again, a map of early Halifax. The Grand Parade was about here, not in the Citadel, but here in the main area of early Halifax. Father Leloutre's War was part of the French and Indian Wars, and it lasted from 21st June 1749 to 16th June 1755. Father Leloutre's War ended with the expulsion of the Acadians and the end of French claims to mainland Nova Scotia. An officially constituted unit of Canada, the Princess Louise Fusiliers were authorized on 16th June 1869 as the Halifax Volunteer Battalion of Infantry. During the unit's history, it had undergone several name changes. On November 5th, 1869, the regiment was named the 66th, the Halifax Battalion of Infantry, originally consisting of 6 companies. It later gained 2 more. Here is a poster for its anniversary in 2019, from 1869 to 2019. Once again, here is the original uniform of the PLF soldier. As an officially constituted unit of Canada, the Princess Louise Fusiliers were authorized on 18th June 1869 as the Halifax Volunteer Battalion of Infantry. Once again, that's this. 10 years later, on November 14th, 1879, the regiment was once again renamed, this time to the 66th Battalion Princess Louise Fusiliers. Here, once again, is Princess Louise, who was the daughter of Queen Victoria and wife of the Marquis of Lorne, Governor General of Canada at the time. The Marquis of Lorne, his full title was the Duke. He was the Duke of Argyll, and he had subsidiary titles of the Marquis of Kintyre and Lorne, Earl of Argyll, Earl of Campbell and Cowal, Viscount of Lochow and Glenia, Lord Campbell, Lord Lorne, which is what we're talking about, Lord Kintyre and Lord Inverness, Mull, and a few other locations. So here, the red circle, here is the Marquis of Lorne. It was shortly after this point in which the regiment received its first battle honor, where they helped suppress the Northwest Rebellion of 1885. The Northwest Rebellion was from March 26th to June 3rd, 1885. It was 2 months, 1 week, and 1 day. Its location was in Saskatchewan and Alberta. Okay, soldiers of the unit served in the Northwest Northwest Canada with the Halifax Provisional Battalion. This was active and disbanded both in the year 1885. Here is the Halifax Provisional Battalion in Medicine Hat, district of Assiniboia in 1885. Soldiers of the unit served in the Northwest Halifax Provisional Battalion. 14 years later, in 1899, the regiment provided some of its soldiers to a company raised in Nova Scotia for the 2nd Special Service Battalion of the Royal Canadian Regiment, which was raised for service in South Africa during the Second Boer War. Presently, CFB Stadacona in Halifax, part of the Dockyards organization, was originally an RCR, Royal Canadian Regiment, garrison post. The Second Boer War. This regiment was raised for the Second Boer War. The Second Boer War lasted from 11th October 1899 to 31st May 1902. Here is an encampment of the soldiers in South Africa. Here is a mix of the soldiers of the Royal Canadian Regiment, which also has traces of the Princess Louise Fusiliers, probably in the Battle of Paardeberg, or anyway, in the war in South Africa. Here they are again in South Africa during the Boer War. May 8th, 1900 brought about another name change, this time to the 66th Regiment, Princess Louise Fusiliers. In October 1901, the regiment received new colors from the Duke of Cornwall and York, who was later King George V, during his visit to Canada. The new colors were subscribed for by the ladies of Halifax in honor of their battalion. The First World War, World War I, also known as the Great War, from 28th July 1914 to 11th November 1918. During the First World War, the 66th Regiment provided soldiers to the locally raised battalions of the Canadian Expeditionary Force, the CEF. CEF was active from 1914 to 1919. It was engaged in World War I in the Western Front and in the Russian Civil War, the North Russia intervention, and the Siberian intervention. Notable commanders were Lieutenant General Edwin Alderson, Lieutenant General Julian Byng, and of course Lieutenant General Arthur Currie. At the end of the war, as a result of the Otter Commission, headed by General William Otter, the regiment perpetuated the 64th Canadian Infantry Battalion of the CEF. As a result of the unit's contributions of soldiers and this perpetuation, the regiment holds over 5 honors of the First World War. In May 1915, the regiment was renamed to its current name, the Princess Louise Fusiliers. Here they are again. The Second World War, World War II. From 1st September 1939 to 2nd September 1945, 6 years and 1 day. The onset of World War II saw more action for the Fusiliers, where they were sent to Italy as part of the 5th Canadian Armoured Division. The regiment fielded 2 machine gun companies, the 11th Independent MG Company in support of the 11th Canadian Infantry Brigade, and the 12th Independent MG Company in support of the 12th Canadian Infantry Brigade. In British and Commonwealth armoured divisions of that period, independent MG companies consisted of a headquarter platoon plus 1 platoon operating the .5 inch or 50 cal 12.7 millimeter Browning heavy machine guns, and a second platoon operating 4.2 inch heavy mortars. They were heavy direct fire support units. Princess Louise Fusiliers also had a motorcycle unit. In February 1945, the 5th Armored was transferred from Italy to Belgium, and these 2 companies participated in the liberation of the Netherlands from late March to the German surrender. During the conflict, 9 more battle honors, bringing their total count to 16. Post-war to the present day. Here is a plaque celebrating 150 years of service, which is now on the A. Murray McKay Bridge in Halifax. Following World War II, the PLF converted back to a light infantry unit. Their most recent battle honor, received in 1999, following a lengthy struggle by unit officers to discover the necessary supporting documents, was for the unit's actions at Arnhem in 1945. In Afghanistan on Easter Sunday, April 8, 2007, Master Corporal Chris Stanix was killed along with 5 other Canadian soldiers when their vehicle was hit by an explosive device. Corporal Sean Fivens was injured in the explosion and transported to a military hospital in Germany. The PLF performed a ceremonial trooping of the color at Citadel Hill in Halifax, Nova Scotia on 23 April 2009. Inspecting the parade was Prince Andrew, Duke of York, and then Colonel-in-Chief of the Princess Louise Fusiliers, with a large crowd in attendance. On May 14, 2014, a new passenger transit harbor ferry was christened the Christopher Stanix, as it was brought into service as part of the Halifax Metro Transit ferry system. The Christopher Stanix ferry is the first of 5 new ferries introduced to modernize the current fleet. The ceremony in honor of the naming of the ferry in the memory of Master Corporal Stanix was well attended by the public as well as members of the Stanix family. The commanding officer, Regimental Sergeant Major, and a number of serving and former serving members of the regiment. In celebration of the 150th anniversary of the formation of the regiment, the City of Halifax installed 2 special displays in its honor. The first was a recreation of the regiment's flaming grenade hat badge in the form of a floral display, prominently displayed in the public gardens. A second was installed on the Halifax side of the A. Murray McKay Bridge, this time displaying a large version of the cap badge, framed in a bed of stones and commemorating 150 years of service to Canada. In June 2019, the regiment celebrated its 150th anniversary with the Freedom of the City Parade, with the regiment parading through the city in their distinct scarlet uniforms. Former members of the regiment were also present on parade as they formed contingent of the Old Guard. The Christopher Stanix Transit Ferry. In early 2013, Halifax Transit announced that they would be purchasing what would be the first of 5 new harbor passenger ferries to augment the now aging fleet currently in service. The vessel will be built by A.F. Terrio Shipyard for a cost of $3,987,400. To maintain compatibility with the existing ferry terminal facilities, the new vessel will use the same hull design first used in the Halifax 3 in 1979. However, updates are planned for many of the ship's systems, as well as the interior. The name of the vessel was chosen by the people of Halifax after a competition conducted by Halifax Transit. At the end of the competition, over 12,800 votes were cast in the name Christopher Stanix, winning 61% of the votes. Master Corporal Christopher Stanix was a local Army reservist with the Princess Louise Fusiliers. He was killed in April 2007 by an improvised explosive device while serving in Afghanistan. In early June 2014, the winner of the competition to name the new ferry was announced. Retired Corporal Darrell MacDonald, a former member of the Princess Louise Fusiliers and a resident of Halifax Regional Municipality, was the first person to submit the Christopher Stanix name for voting. He was awarded a full-year transit pass and reportedly donated it to the IWK, the Isaac Walton Killam Health Center, for Women and Newborn Health Social Work Department. The passes were converted to sheets of single-use transit tickets and will be passed out at the discretion of the staff within the department. Uniform. As a Fusilier regiment, the PLF wear a hackle in the case of the PLF. It is a grey hackle of the Royal Inniskilling Fusiliers. Battle honors. Here is the regimental color. The Princess Louise Fusiliers have been awarded 17 battle honors since the unit's inception in 1869. These are Northwest Canada, 1885, during the Northwest Rebellion. South Africa in 1899 during the Second Boer War, 1899 to 1900. Somme, 1916 in World War I. Arras, 1917. Hill 70. Ypres, 1917. Amiens, Leary Valley, Malfa Crossing, Gothic Line, Coriano, Lamone Crossing, Misano Ridge, Italy, 1944 to 1945. Arnhem, 1945. Davesville Pocket, Northwest Europe, 1945, and Afghanistan. On May 9, 2014, it was announced that the Princess Louise Fusiliers would be among the units to be awarded the Afghanistan Theater Honor to recognize the dedication and sacrifice made by members of the unit who took part in Canada's operations in Afghanistan, the longest armed conflict in Canadian history. Theater honors are a type of battle honor given to publicly recognize a Canadian Armed Forces unit for participation in a theater of armed conflict. Such honors have been awarded after every major conflict in which Canada has been engaged. Lineage. This is the camp flag of the Princess Louise Fusiliers. It was originated on 16th June 1869 in Halifax, Nova Scotia as the Halifax Volunteer Battalion of Infantry. We were designated on 5th November 1869 as the 66th Halifax Volunteer Battalion of Infantry. We were designated on 14th November 1879 as the 66th Battalion, Princess Louise Fusiliers. And here is what they looked like at the time. Redesignated on 8th May 1900 as the 66th Regiment, Princess Louise Fusiliers. Redesignated on 15th May 1920 as the Princess Louise Fusiliers. Amalgamated on 1st December 1936 with the headquarters and A Company of the 6th Machine Gun Battalion, CMGC, and redesignated as the Princess Louise Fusiliers Machine Gun. Redesignated on 1st January 1941 as the 2nd Reserve Battalion, the Princess Louise Fusiliers Machine Gun. Redesignated again on 15th February 1946 as the Princess Louise Fusiliers Machine Gun. Redesignated on 11th April 1958 as the Princess Louise Fusiliers. Redesignated on 14th May 1985 as the Princess Louise Fusiliers. And redesignated on 5th January 2009 as the Princess Louise Fusiliers. The 6th Machine Gun Battalion, CMGC, originated on 1st June 1919 in Halifax, Nova Scotia as the 6th Machine Gun Brigade, CMGC. It was redesignated on the 15th September 1924 as the 6th Machine Gun Battalion, CMGC. It was amalgamated on 1st December 1936 with the Princess Louise Fusiliers and redesignated as the Princess Louise Fusiliers Machine Gun. The lineage chart. In 1869, the Halifax Volunteer Battalion of Infantry. Then the 66th, the Halifax Volunteer Battalion of Infantry. Then the 66th Battalion, Princess Louise Fusiliers. 1885, active service. Then in 1900, the 66th Regiment, Princess Louise Fusiliers. In 1915, 64th Overseas Battalion, CEF. In 1917, it was disbanded, and in 1919 was the 6th Machine Gun Brigade, CMGC. In 1920, it became the 1st Battalion, the 64th Battalion, CEF, the Princess Louise Fusiliers. There was a 2nd Battalion, the Princess Louise Fusiliers, and the 6th Machine Gun Battalion, CMGC. In 1924, it was disbanded, and again in 1938, 1936, the Princess Louise Fusiliers once again. 1941, the 1st Battalion, Princess Louise Fusiliers, and the 2nd Reserve Battalion, Princess Louise Fusiliers. Here we have 2 battalions again. In 1942, the Princess Louise Fusiliers Motor. 1943, the 1st Battalion, Princess Louise Fusiliers, CIC. 1943, 11th Infantry Brigade Support Group, Princess Louise Fusiliers. 1944, the 11th Independent MG Company, Princess Louise Fusiliers, and the 12th Independent MG Company, the Princess Louise Fusiliers. The 2nd company disbanded, and another disbanded. In 1946, the Princess Louise Fusiliers MG carried on. 1958, the Princess Louise Fusiliers only. And in 1985, the Princess Louise Fusiliers, and in 2009, once again, the Princess Louise Fusiliers without the apostrophe. Its perpetuation is the 64th Battalion, CEF. Armory. This is the Halifax Armory 100 years ago. This is the Halifax Armory today. The regiment's armory is the Halifax Armory, 2667 North Park Street, North Central Halifax Regional Municipality, which is a Romanesque revival drill hall built for the active militia of red, rough-faced brick. Alliances are the United Kingdom, the Royal Irish Regiment, which are the 27th Enniskilling, the 83rd and 87th and Ulster Defence Regiments. Here is a recent picture of the Princess Louise Fusiliers today. In the media, from farm boy to soldier, experiences of a World War II veteran, Princess Louise Fusiliers, by Gordon P. Hogan in 2005, and Fideliter, the regimental history of the Princess Louise Fusiliers, by Leo J. DeVoe in 2020. In the 1980s, once again, the Cold War required Nova Scotia to be able to field a battalion on very short notice with all parts of support companies. The West Nova Scotia Regiment provided the heavy anti-tank platoon. The Nova Scotia Highlanders provided the mechanized infantry on armored vehicles. And the PLF provided the mortar platoon. This ends our presentation on the Princess Louise Fusiliers.